Think your words are harmless, just a bunch of sounds you string together? Well, what if I told you that some everyday phrases have seriously dark and unsettling histories? We're talking about origins that could make you rethink everything you say. What if innocent expressions are actually echoes of unimaginable suffering, bizarre rituals, or even outright deceit? Language is like a living fossil record. It carries the DNA of our ancestors, their wins, their fears, and sometimes their darkest practices. We use phrases passed down through centuries, often totally unaware of their true and sometimes pretty disturbing beginnings. Today, we're digging into the shadowy side of etymology. We're going to uncover the controversial, the shocking, and the downright sinister backstories of words and sayings you thought you knew. By the end of this, your casual chats might never feel quite the same. So if you're ready to have your mind blown, let's start our journey into the dark secrets of everyday words. Let's kick things off with a classic, Mad as a Hatter. We all picture that quirky character from Alice in Wonderland, right? But the real story is darker. In the 18th century, hat makers used mercury to make felt hats. Constant exposure led to mercury poisoning, tremors, memory loss, and wild mood swings. So, mad as a hatter isn't just a phrase, it's a chilling reminder of a dangerous trade. Alright, how about running amok? We use it when kids are causing chaos in the supermarket or a project is totally out of control. It suggests a bit of wild, uncoordinated energy, maybe some harmless mess. But its original meaning, way darker and much more violent. The word amok actually comes to us from Malaysia. European travelers in the 17th century wrote about this terrifying phenomenon where individuals, seemingly hit by sudden intense mental distress or, as some believed, spiritual possession, would explode into a frenzied homicidal rampage, attacking anyone and everyone in their path. This wasn't about knocking over cereal boxes, this was about sudden, terrifying and deadly violence. The original running amok was a world away from the minor misbehavior it describes today. It was a term for a horrifying, life-threatening outburst, a complete and scary loss of control with potentially fatal results. Knowing this definitely casts a different shadow on what seems like a fairly mild expression now, doesn't it? Oh, you're just pulling my leg. That's what we say when someone teases us or tells a wild story. But did you know the phrase comes from 19th century London? Thieves would literally pull someone's leg with a wire or stick to trip them. Once down, the victim was robbed. So next time you say it, remember, it's much safer now. Cat got your tongue? That's a playful question for someone who's unusually quiet. But its origins are much darker. One theory links it to the English Navy's cat-o'-nine-tails whip, which left victims speechless from pain. Another points to ancient Egypt, where liars' tongues were supposedly cut out and fed to cats. So, cat got your tongue, it's a phrase with a surprisingly grim past. To bite the bullet means facing something tough with courage, enduring hardship without complaint. The phrase comes from a grim reality. Before anesthesia, soldiers sometimes clenched a bullet in their teeth during surgery. It was a way to focus their pain and avoid biting their tongue. The image is powerful, a reminder of enduring pain when a simple bullet was the only comfort. Are these origins making you look at your words a little differently? If you're finding these revelations as eye-opening as I do, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps and lets us know you want more deep dives like this. When someone is caught red-handed, they're nabbed in the very act of doing something wrong, with undeniable proof. Think of a kid with chocolate all over their face, standing next to an empty cookie jar. The origin of this phrase is quite literal and ties directly to an old English law about a very specific crime, poaching. In times when hunting rights were strictly controlled and forests were often the playground of the rich, stealing an animal was a big deal. If someone was caught with the blood of an animal on their hands, an animal they'd just illegally butchered and that wasn't theirs, they were considered undeniably guilty. The red hands were the clear, damning proof. There was no talking your way out of that one. So, this vivid idiom for being caught in the act comes straight from a very tangible and bloody piece of evidence in medieval justice. Don't let the cat out of the bag. We whisper this when a secret is about to be spilled. It's all about keeping something under wraps. And the origin? It's a tale of sneaky market sellers and some rather unlucky cats. Back in medieval markets, piglets, or pigs in a poke, another phrase for another day, were often sold in bags. An unsuspecting buyer would think they were getting a nice suckling pig. However, some dishonest sellers would try to pull a fast one. They'd quietly swap the valuable piglet for a much less valuable and probably very annoyed cat. If the buyer was smart enough to check the bag's contents before handing over their money, they would, quite literally, let the cat out of the bag, exposing the fraud for everyone to see. The scam would be busted and the dodgy merchant's game would be up. So, this common saying about revealing secrets comes directly from a con involving a feline imposter. To paint the town red means to have a wild night out, full of fun and maybe a little chaos. The phrase may come from a real event in 1837, Melton Mowbray, England. Henry Beresford, the Marquis of Waterford, and his friends painted the town, literally, with red paint during a drunken spree. So next time you paint the town red, remember its wild, colourful origin. When someone shows their true colours, they reveal their real character or intentions, especially if they've been hiding them. It often means a less pleasant side is coming out after some kind of deception. This phrase has a pretty cool and quite strategic maritime origin. In the age of sailing ships, naval warfare often involved a bit of trickery. Ships might fly false flags, the colours of a neutral or even friendly nation, to get close to an enemy ship without setting off alarms. However, before starting a battle, a code of honour and maritime law often required a ship to hoist its own true national flag and its true colours. This was the moment of truth, the point where all pretense was dropped and the ship's real allegiance and hostile intentions were made crystal clear. So the act of revealing who you really are, especially after a disguise, is directly mirrored in this naval tradition of declaring your true identity before the cannons started firing. To turn a blind eye means to deliberately ignore something you know is wrong or problematic. It's an act of choosing not to see. This expression is famously linked to one of Britain's greatest naval heroes, Admiral Horatio Nelson. The story goes that during the Battle of Copenhagen in 1801, Nelson's superior officer, Admiral Sir Hyde Parker, signalled for Nelson to pull back from the fight. Nelson, who was blind in one eye, supposedly lifted his telescope to his blind eye and said something like, "I really do not see the signal." He then carried on with the attack, which ultimately led to a huge British victory. Whether this exact moment happened precisely like that or has been jazzed up by history, it perfectly captures what the phrase means, choosing to ignore an order or an unwelcome truth by pretending not to see it. It's quite a dramatic origin for such a common expression about looking the other way. The words we use every single day are so much more than just tools to get our point across. They're like little time capsules, carrying echoes of history, whispers of forgotten traditions, and sometimes the chilling leftovers of darker times. As we've seen, phrases that seem totally harmless on the surface can have origins buried in suffering, violence, deception, and frankly, some pretty bizarre customs. Understanding these origins gives us a deeper appreciation for just how rich and complex language really is. It reminds us that words have power, and their stories are often far stranger and more stunning than we could ever guess. Perhaps now your everyday chats will have a new layer of intrigue, a new awareness of the dark secrets that might just be hiding under the surface. What words or phrases have you always wondered about? Are there any expressions whose hidden histories you'd like us to investigate next? Let us know in the comments below, and if you found these stories as fascinating as we did, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the surprising tales behind our language. Thanks for watching.